Day YouTube. Does stress exist in the Air Force? Of course, the answer is yes. Just like the majority of jobs out there, stress is part of most jobs, and it also is part of the Air Force. That's what I want to talk about today. Some notes here. Stress in the Air Force does exist. It's part of the welcoming to you as an individual that's coming into the Air Force, most likely through basic military training or OTS, ROTC, or the Air Force Academy from the beginning. And that is to break us as individuals, individuality at those environments and make us and build us back up as a team. So definitely from the beginning, like I said, every job has stress, but in the military, it's not that traditional mindset. It's not that traditional job that if you're having a bad day, you say, you know what, this job isn't for me, I quit, and you walk out. In the Air Force, it's not like that. The Air Force invests a lot of money in us. They invest in training and ensuring that we have the entry qualifications, and once we're in, we're an investment for the Air Force. So it's not that easy for us to just say, we don't like it, it's not what I want to do. The other thing with the Air Force is rules and structure are hardcore, and I'm assuming that the other branches are the same as well. Rules, there's many rules. That structure, all of that is taught to us from the beginning, and we have to make sure that we understand that we pass any tests that we may be involved with, whether it's at BMT or any of the schools. And once we pass it, that means we're tracking, we're doing good, and we're on the way that we're supposed to. But rules and structure are hardcore, and that's just in general with the military. Some examples are uniform. You have to wear the uniform correctly, and people will call you out if you're not. If you're walking around or standing around with your hands in your front pockets in uniform, that's a no. And we all know that. We're taught that. So that is an example. I used to wear a bracelet that was made by my daughter, and it's a very common bracelet. It's the kind that's threaded together, but it's not the color. It's not gold or silver, which the Air Force authorized. It's like a tan. When I become a civilian, I'll wear that whenever I want to. The level of stress in the Air Force is going to depend on two things. One of them is, maybe more things as well, but I'll talk about two, is the job that you may have. Some jobs are more stressful than others. I'm personnel, it's really not that stressful, believe it or not, but the thing that stresses me out, or not necessarily stresses me out, but irritates me, is the amount of emails that I have to deal with. If you're gone 5 days on vacation, you come back, your mailbox is full, and you have a few hundred emails. It's annoying, you know, it's just the way it is. Every job is different. The second thing is the individual. How do you deal with stress? The good news is that there is a lot of resources available that the Air Force has, going to the gym, resiliency, training, things like that as well, that hopefully will reduce the stress that we as individuals may carry in the Air Force. Another thing with stress, it's going to depend on the mission. Think of it like this: the job will come first. I'm an individual that puts my family first, but of course the job has to be done, and that means if you work 8 hours or 12 hours and you're ready to go home because you're tired, but the job isn't done, that's going to come first. That's like, as an individual, what I do is I plan my schedule daily and weekly, and I work hard in the morning, slow things down in the evening, so when it's time to go home, I leave when I'm supposed to leave, or as close as possible to that. The lifestyle in the Air Force is fast-paced. From day one that you enter basic military training or the other schools that I talked about, it is fast-paced. Sometimes it's going to be longer hours than others. Like I said, the job will come first. The next thing is time away from home. If you join active duty in the Air Force, most likely you're going to leave your home city and your home state. Sometimes that's not the case, but most likely that does happen. What about deployments? When you have to leave, whether you want or not, to go serve wherever the Air Force wants you, that can be stressful. It could be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, it could be 12 months. A deployment, or temporary duties, also known as TDYs, when you have to go for 3 weeks, 6 weeks or so, without your family if you are married. The other thing is your family. When you join active duty, the Air Force, like I said, you're going to say goodbye to your family at least for the most part. Your family, meaning could be your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, things like that. If you're married, your family will go with you in most cases. Next thing is accountability. You have to be accountable. People expect you to be accountable in the Air Force, to your team, to any programs that you manage, and be accountable to yourself. And that goes hand in hand with responsibility. You will be given responsibility. Nothing against an individual, let's say, who works at a fast food restaurant. That's a job too, and that's important. But the Air Force is a different type of job with a lot more responsibility than just making sure that the hamburgers are cooked right or the French fries. Again, not to take away from anybody outside of the Air Force or a job that is fast food. Bad finances is an example. If you're a civilian and you have bad finances, bad personal finances, your civilian job may not know about that. In the Air Force, it's not like they're going to know right away, but eventually they can find out, and that's a stressor as well. So the Air Force is like big brother, big sister, who is going to find out more things about us than civilian jobs may have. Training. Training is a good thing, but training is usually non-stop. It could be for computer-based training, CBTs. It could be for your job. It could be for additional duties. Training is almost non-stop every single year. The next thing is readiness. Readiness is an individual thing where, am I ready to deploy when I'm supposed to deploy? That could be medical. That could be my deployment gear. That could be any type of training that I'm required to have to do the job that I'll do when I deploy, if I deploy. Next topic about stress is pay. Some people often say the military doesn't pay enough, and I disagree. I've been enlisted and I've been an officer, and even when I was enlisted, I disagreed. It's what we do with our money as opposed to how much we earn. That was the last video last week. Voluntold. We need people to do this. Any volunteers? Nobody signs up? Okay, so-and-so, you're voluntold to do that. That could be stressful, that could be annoying, but that's part of the lifestyle. Next thing is change. Like in the civilian world, change is constant. And in the Air Force, it is very common change, whether it's people, whether it's location where you're working and living, whether it's technology. Change is constant. Like I said, in the civilian world and the Air Force, that's the case as well. Your job could be stressful. Maybe it's stressful because you don't know it. The good news is you're going to learn it with the people that you work with. What about if you don't like your job? You can't just say, hey, I don't want to do this, like I said earlier, and I quit. No, you have to stick it out for your contract, whether it's 4 years or 6 years. My outlook is positive, so I would say make the most of it. Next thing is civilian laws apply to everybody. Let's say you live in a city, and those civilian laws apply to everybody. When you're an Air Force member, those will apply to you as well, but you're going to have the Air Force laws that apply to you as well, which we will fall under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Example is, let's say somebody gets a DUI on base, then they have to deal with the Air Force. If somebody gets a DUI off base, they have to deal with those civilian authorities plus the Air Force. So think of it like that. That responsibility around the clock, not just when we work, is definitely real. Another thing is doing more with less. Finances can be a tough topic across the board, where the Air Force is doing more things or expects us to do more things with less people, with less tools to do our job. Hurry up and wait. That's common in basic training, where you're rushed all the time, but you're put under duress on purpose. That's a training environment. Sometimes it can be like that in the Air Force as well, where they want you to do this, you do it, they're rushing you to do it, and you're done. But now what? You can't wait till the next step for whatever reason. Hurry up and wait. Wrapping up, if I had to join the Air Force again, back in the day, let's say right after high school, would I do it, yes or no? What is your guess? I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is 100%. Yes, I would. 100%. In fact, I joined at 24, came in enlisted. If I could change things, which I can't, I would join right after high school, or have done ROTC, or done the Air Force Academy. But after high school, I wasn't prepared, looking back, to join those ladder to ROTC or the Air Force Academy. So I joined and enlisted. It was the best thing I could have done. Stress, like I said at the beginning, is part of 99% of the jobs out there. It is in the Air Force. There's many tools out there to help us. What is your outlook? Is it positive or is it negative? Are you using the tools out there for us to improve, reduce stress? And then the last thing is that outlook. Like I said, positive or negative. Positive is something that I strive to do. It's not spreading positivity. That was a very popular topic a year ago. What you see with me is for the most part who I am. And it's not an act. Not that anyone just said that, but I talk about things that I like to talk about, share things, especially the finances things as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Make the most of your opportunity wherever you are in life. Have a great day.